The Bulwark is coming to Dallas. You guys are going to be there with Bill Kristol, Adam Kinzinger, Sonny Bunch. September 5th, it's a Thursday in Dallas. Go to thebulwark.com/events for tickets. Nobody is going to want to buy tickets to see a show with me in it. So the good news is I won't be there. You'll have Bill Kristol and Adam Kinzinger, who are joyful warriors, happy warriors, who are going to be there to fight, and it'll be a great show. Hey there, it's JVL here with my best friends, Sarah Longwell and Tim Miller of The Bulwark. It is Wednesday, July 17th. Things are just fine. JVL, everything is fine.
JVL, your newsletters have been...
bleak, man.
I mean, bleak. Is there a superlative of bleak? I want to give you a hug. I'm in your city. I'm in New York. Do you need a hug? Do you want to take the metro up to... we can just do a quick squeeze and then you can go home. Like, we don't have to even hang out, but it feels like you need human contact.
I would. Sure. I'll try that.
Okay.
I don't know. You guys tell me why I'm wrong, because it looks to me like things are very, very bad.
Sarah, that's your cue.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm being told people don't like the doom and gloom. And I'm like, oh, okay, well.
Great. Then I'll just tell you everything's great.
Yeah,
don't believe the polls. The polls are always wrong. Rovember is going to fix everything. If I had a nickel for every person who has told me, are you kidding? Joe Biden's going to win this in a landslide. And I'm just like, okay.
Great.
Cool.
I'm glad to hear it. Listen,
tell me what I do if he doesn't, though.
Okay, well, just hold on. Let's. There's a lot going on here, and since we've all been together, a few things have happened. It's only Wednesday, but since we were last together on Saturday, there was an assassination attempt on an autocrat that we need to beat, and then he has rolled into what has been. Guys, I am trying to figure out. I said this last night. It's a convention. There are conventions around conventions, right? There's just things that people always do that go through the motions.
Nice.
And thank you. And in this way, it has been conventional.
Really nice.
Yeah, I'm crushing it. However, do you find is it normal for them to fet the nominee this way? Like, I haven't had the time to go back and look at like the convention where they nominated John McCain and I'm sure there was like, you hype the candidate, right? You certainly say nice things. You say we need to elect this person. I'm trying to figure out if it feels more on the like Kim Jong-un side of fetting versus the, hey, we've got a nominee we're all supporting. What do you guys think?
I can field that one.
Okay.
There was the Roman columns for Obama.
Yeah.
This is
in 2008. Yeah.
That's the closest comp. The Obama Roman columns. But the personal kind of third world despotic, praise to the leader, we go kiss his ring in the box element of it, that is different. That would be a category difference. Like, and I talked about this a little bit with Joe Perticone on the Daily Pod, just like it's not the types of people, even if Mitt Romney or whoever or John Kerry had shown up to their own convention and sat in a box to watch the speaker, like the types of people around them would have been probably big donors, probably other old wise men of the party, previous nominees, it would have been a brief little acknowledgement. This is like Donald Trump sitting there like a king, watching the jester please him, while the only people around him are not other elites within the party. Well, maybe they are now, but like random backbench congressmen who have the most insane Twitter feeds. Like that is who gets to sit next to him. And so I think that is definitely a little different than '08, for example.
Sure. I also wonder, because there was an assassination attempt, right? I think we all, in our human decency, a thing that Donald Trump has never afforded another human, but in our own human decency, I want to not... I refrained last night from tweeting, but I will say it here. Trump looks terrible. And he sits there hunched over, kind of like neck, like jowly scowling, as people stand up around him. He stands up occasionally, but mostly people stand up and he sits there. and kind of, nods his
Lurches.
head.
He lurches
Yeah.
a little bit.
And I'm not talking about the bandage on his ear. I'm talking about just the the toad-like way that he is presiding over the events. And the extent to which, so I was thinking about last night. So to me, there was a couple different ways to think about last night. So there was both the Ron DeSantis, Nikki Haley ring kissing, right? The previous challengers who've said mean things about him, who came to make sure they were all good. Nikki Haley actually flat out reversing herself on Trump in terms of his relationship to autocrats. When she was running against him, he was quite not good about all the autocrats. And now he's the only thing standing between us and Vladimir Putin. So there's her. Ron DeSantis, I was just reminded about why this guy failed as a candidate and why he'll never be a real presidential contender. Because when he was giving his DEI stump speech, he was good. He was perfectly, he didn't stumble verbally. He was fluid as he rattled off his alphabet soup of grievances. But he is like a wooden boy. He's not a real live boy. And the lack of authenticity, the lack of spark there is just, he'll never have the thing.
An angry elf on the shelf.
Yeah, he's an angry elf, isn't he? Anyway, that was contrasted with, and we could talk about Rubio a little bit too, except Rubio was much better. Nikki Haley was also, by the way, good. She just doesn't belong in that party. Like, she is a performer, but hollow on the inside. Like, without the soul.
Where is she on Ukraine? Did she mention Ukraine?
She did, actually.
She did mention it.
What did she say?
She said that Putin only invaded Ukraine because Joe Biden is weak and Donald Trump is strong.
That's right.
Oh, and so when Donald Trump wins,
he's going to retreat.
I guess Putin will just retreat and leave Ukraine, and Ukraine will get all of their territory back?
No.
Well, that's great.
Yeah, that's good. It is good news.
Geez, I mean, what the fuck am I worrying about?
You've been looking for silver linings.
But then I want to talk about, to me, the ones that really... I did have to watch it with a couple of airplane-style barf bags, this whole thing. Because first I had to deal with Nikki, which the number... fine, send me emails if you want. Sarah, how did you not see this coming? I'll take them. It's true. This is a Sarah's always wrong moment. Sarah's always wrong about Nikki Haley. I'll never do it again. This is the last time, I promise. I'll never do it again. So Nikki, that was
clip and
hard.
save for 2031. Nikki's back.
I will never clip and save. I will never support Nikki Haley. Never. However, to me, the interesting ones were the Laura Trump, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, because this was where they sent the women out to do the women's work of humanizing Donald Trump. And Sarah Huckabee Sanders has had a bit of a glow up. It is for that reason I actually really did think she was kind of still in contention until JD Vance was announced. It seems like a lot of people made a lot of big changes to their lives in order to be considered. Marco Rubio, he didn't change his residency, which I think really cost him ultimately. But Sarah Huckabee Sanders has had a bit of a transformation. And obviously Tim Scott is now, he's going to call that marriage off, right?
I wish the best for them. I think that they probably
I hope those
have
two crazy
really passionate
kids.
lovemaking.
Yeah. But it was them doing he's just a granddad and a dad and God spared his life and he is here to save us, the religiosity of all of it. It is, what is it like? What's it like when the reality that you're living in bears no actual resemblance to the facts? Kafkaesque? Is it Kafkaesque? It's just like living in a nightmare, right? It's like that. It's Kafkaesque.
Yes, that's how I feel.
It does feel like we're living in a
I'll
nightmare.
stop ranting now, but those are just some general broad
I'm
impressions.
sorry, Sarah, your job was to talk me off the ledge.
Sorry, I'm
Not
just
to
telling
come in
people
and
what's
say
happened.
it's like we are in a nightmare from which we cannot wake up.
That's why we let you go first, Sarah. That was the whole premise of why you went first. It was supposed to be positive.
No, because also in the intervening time, Joe Biden's done a couple interviews.
Okay, let's not do that yet.
Okay, fine.
We're saving
Save that.
it.
Tim, talk to
I
me.
just can't. If we start talking about that, I can't talk about anything else. Yeah. Well, I'm going to bring, I just, for a little humorous note on bringing you down, because of the Joe Biden stuff, you know, I'm a big boy. I can take criticism. I can take heat. It's fine. It's all okay. But, you know, some of my friends in New Orleans were like, you know, I've been noticing some mean things being said about you. Like, maybe let's go have a beer this weekend. So went out and had some drinks. Maybe had one too many. On Friday night.
Z-biotics. I hope you took your Z-biotics.
Didn't take my Z-biotics. And I woke up Saturday morning. We saw it happen on Saturday. It's like I was telling the story to somebody on Sunday or Monday, and I was like, yeah, it's been rough work. You know, it's been rough. I had to go out, and I ended up getting drunk. And they're like, yeah, I bet it was tough for you to watch that assassination attempt and have to think about what to talk about that. And I was like, no. Actually, it was so rough I needed to get blackout drunk before Donald Trump survived an assassination attempt and then stood up and started yelling, "Shut, fight," with blood coming out of his ears, like we're in a movie where he is the great hero. I just think that's a good way to kind of contextualize like where we are. Like, things were not great, and then we had like a movie level insane event that also was not great. On top of the initial not great situations. That takes us to kind of a tough place.
I think we should spend a minute on the assassination attempt.
Let's do it.
Because it is weird how news cycles move on. This is it. I guess because we rolled into the RNC convention, they're obviously talking about it. But it feels like I feel like maybe if this had happened 20 years ago before social media and the news cycles that move at lightning speed, like an assassination attempt would be the only thing to contemplate, right? And
my
now
only
it's
question
not.
about that, so I am totally with you. I think it feels very weird how
Doesn't it
quickly
feel
things are
weird?
moving on.
Yeah.
I will say this though, I was not born. None of us were. So for our listeners who
That's true,
are a
we don't
little bit
know.
of a different vintage, Gerald Ford, I understand, there was 2 attempted assassinations on him in 1 month.
Twice.
In 1979. And I like kind of knew that somewhere in the recesses of my brain, but so I don't know what it was like in 1979 September.
Well, and also
but
a lot of
maybe
people
this
had
is,
been killed.
yeah,
Had been
maybe
assassinated.
this
Right?
is just
Martin Luther
human
King
nature.
had been, and Kennedy,
And Bobby Kennedy, and
yeah.
they say the adaptability of human nature. I don't know, but it is strange. And the other thing for me in the fallout, part of the reason maybe I think that they haven't dwelled on it as much at the convention is that like we still know nothing. It is pretty crazy. Like I was sitting on the Morning Joe set this morning. We were just talking off air, and it's like it was a bullet. I have no conspiracy theories, but we don't have the ballistics still. We know nothing about this young man. Like
It's
basically
a little like
nothing.
the Las Vegas shooting.
Yeah, like
Right,
we know
there's a
basically
little-
nothing.
yeah.
They've broken into his phone. He's the only 20-year-old in America that not only is it on social media, but it apparently wasn't on Discord or Reddit or like posting on message boards. Like they broke into his computer and his phone now, I guess. We don't know. Like we're basing the information we have on him based on like some interviews with like 20-year-olds who are like, yeah, I was with him in social studies class and he took conservative views. And it's like, okay. And like a neighbor who's like, I think I saw a Trump sign on his front yard. And we're like, okay. So so that part of it is very strange, right? Like you would think that after, like, especially in the modern era, right, where we've had all these horrible events and then you get manifestos that come out like that, we're kind of bracing for all that. And that hasn't happened, so it's disorienting in that sense too for me. I don't know. It's not like waiting for evidence has been a big hallmark of the MAGA Republican Party.
I mean, yes, but also I assume they don't want to get too far out over their skis in case, like, it's just a Jared Loughner situation.
I guess.
Or something. I don't know.
They advanced an entire conspiracy about the 2020 election based on out of whole cloth. And
Yeah,
there was
right.
like,
Why not just say
how about this? When Donald Trump was shot at, which is horrible. I've talked about how horrible it is on every podcast this week. Horrible. Behind him, over his right shoulder, is the man that the QAnon people think is John F. Kennedy Jr. still alive. Like he's there, like in row 3 in the pictures. You can see him in every video of this. So like, the like staying in the reality of the narrative is not really, kind of their MO. And so in that sense, I have to say it's the one thing and tonight Peter Navarro's coming straight from jail, apparently, to the convention. So all of what I'm about to say might be outdated in 24 hours.
Party of Law and Order.
But I am grateful that it's like been a little chiller. I don't know. Like on Sunday, if you would have called me on Sunday morning and said, Tim, what do you think it's going to be like in Milwaukee? Like my imagination about what it was going to be, like it hasn't been unity, it hasn't been love, blah, 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 but it's been chiller. And that's a good thing for everybody. So that's my one compliment I'll give to these people, because they could have just barreled right through. Who cares what the facts are? And blamed all this on, I mean, whoever, Rachel Maddow or whatever.
Yeah.
And like,
no,
I don't
it's
think
good.
they need
Only
to-
the vice presidential nominee did that.
yeah.
Green shoots.
The reason that I don't think they need to do it is that like Trump, obviously, this is we're just talking politics. So I don't know how to frame this any other way, but like he came off looking good in the moment, right? And so like I think they just want to like leave it at that. Like he bounced back up.
More than looking good. I will do it. I will compliment
fine.
him. It's insane. Who has the wherewithal to do this? Like he gets fucking shot at, and Secret Service people are diving on him, and instead of just rushing him off with like his head down, like he has the presence, like a fucking he's just this tabloid creature. Like in his brain, he just like knows what the New York Post is going to look like the next day in that moment, and decides to stand up and do that. Like it's unbelievable that he did that.
Yeah. And so I mean, at this point, this is where Trump's campaign feels different to me and far superior than the other two times he's run. They are using restraint at times when they are ahead, right? The way that they go into a bunker after Joe Biden has the debate, even Donald Trump on the debate stage, right? Donald Trump, he hit him a little bit. I don't know what he just said. I don't think he even knows what he just said. But like, he didn't sit up there and be like, look at this man. He obviously has dementia. Like the way that Donald Trump could, he is, and this is not me being like, this is the day Donald Trump finally became president. This
obviously.
is not his, it is that he clearly has a political team that has showed him, and he is so afraid of going to jail that he is heeding advice in ways that he hasn't before. This is one of the places I really think I disagree with George, who's kind of like, he can't help himself. And I'm like, I don't know. He is helping himself. Like somebody after that debate gave him, here's your phone, here's your golf clubs, go crazy on Truth Social, and like, but I don't want to see you in public for 10 days. And while the Democrats and us, right, everybody's talking about Joe Biden, Donald Trump's nowhere to be seen. And then he's giving this rally, and rather than jumping out with a ton of conspiracy theories, right, they take it and sort of say like, we've got this. And then they're putting on what is, I think, a deeply choreographed show of unity, right? Now, of course, where is Mike Pence? The guy's former vice president isn't there. Worth noting. But they do have Marco. They do have DeSantis. They do have Nikki, who arguably the person who's done most combat with him, who's still on the team. Everybody's there to show that the party's together. And, even like Laura Trump, who I think is a scary vampire person, like they look great. Everybody kind of looks great, looks normal.
Okay. I was with you up till that. I mean, again, we're grading on a curve, I guess.
Yeah, we're grading on a curve. I'm just saying, I have not seen, there has not been a moment where what's her name is up on stage screaming, the best is yet to come, like a lunatic.
Eva Perón. Yeah. There hasn't been that. And I guess I said this yesterday, a different way of saying what you're saying, because we agree. I'm trying to let's not overdo it. But a different way of saying what you're saying is, of the news we've had since Monday, since the convention started, of the video, like the most useful thing politically for Democrats is old video of JD Vance, which has been popping around, right? Like on the issue of abortion and women staying in abusive marriages and election denialism. Like there's been nothing from the stage that's been like, oh yeah, that's a TV ad. I mean, there's been some stuff that's like, that the median voter wouldn't like, and there are some extreme policy views that are being shaded up there. There's some absurdist stuff like David Sachs blaming Joe Biden for Ukraine, but like there's been nothing that's like that's scary. That's crazy scary. Like that's the kind of scary that your people that you're targeting, Sarah, are like they're going to be freaked out by that, and I can use that video. Like we haven't seen that.
This is what I mean. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm looking at this being like, they're putting a sheen on everything right now is normalizing how insane these people are. It's glossing them up. It's making them look, this is why the Sarah Huckabee Sanders of like, this man, I ran into his arms. Like, whatever. It is.
He called me beautiful. That's in the one line from the stage, and I was like, okay, all right, I don't know. Maybe Donald Trump hugs his grandchildren. I find that kind of hard to picture, but he definitely did not call you beautiful. I'm sorry. I refuse to accept that.
I don't know. Donald Trump commenting on a woman's looks sounds perfectly on par.
We're going to talk about everything in a minute, but first, a word from our sponsor, Green Chef. Green Chef is the #1 meal kit for clean eating, delivering pre-portioned and prepped quality whole foods with limited processed ingredients. If summer has you feeling farmer's market vibes, look no further than Green Chef, the first certified organic meal kit company. Bring the flavors of the farmer's market to you with fresh seasonal organic produce in every box, plus premium proteins like organic eggs, sustainably sourced seafood, and antibiotic and hormone-free chicken. All these get delivered right to your door, plus you don't have to guess what to make with your farm fresh items. With Green Chef's easy-to-follow recipes and pre-measured and prepped ingredients, you'll be serving up a restaurant-worthy meal in no time. Worried about finding recipes you'll like? Have no fear. Green Chef has over 80 weekly menu and market options to satisfy every taste bud. I love it. Green Chef is fantastic. They are partnered with HelloFresh. They're owned by the same company. They just make it easy. I don't know about you guys. I don't want to seem down, but I hate feeding my children. Mealtime is the single worst time of my day, every day, and it happens
Bedtime
every
for
day.
me.
Oh no, bedtime's easy. Mealtime's the worst. And Green Chef and HelloFresh take away some of the pain. They're like Novocaine for mealtime, if you're a parent. And I mean that in the highest compliment. Go to greenchef.com/nextlevel50 and use code nextlevel50 to get 50% off plus 20% off your next 2 months. That's 50% off plus 20% off your next 2 months when you go to greenchef.com/nextlevel50. Start enjoying the #1 meal kit for eating well today. So JD Vance is the pick. Mona won our game from, was it Denver where we did that? I think it was Denver where we did that. I thought I had the beat on Doug Burgum. I thought that was right, but he was feeling so safe. He went with JD Vance. He had Tucker in his ear and Don Jr. in his ear. And
Tucker telling him that he'd get assassinated if he picked Marco Rubio. You saw that?
I didn't see that. But,
yeah, that was an interesting.
When? Before or after
before he actually was shot at. Tucker apparently he was wavering on JD. This is New York Times reporting. So take that for what it's worth. And apparently in a private conversation, Tucker called Trump, said he heard that he was wavering and looking more towards Marco or Burgum, and that if he did that and chose a neocon and then tried to get us out of Ukraine, then the deep state might assassinate him so that Marco could take over and, whatever, World War III could happen.
So JD Vance is a good guy. I wrote my newsletter today, which people should sign up for on thebulwark.com, with a line he gave.
Especially if you just want a little pick-me-up in the afternoon.
Yeah. No, it's a little sweet. In a 2022 interview with Jack Murphy, JD Vance said that Donald Trump should fire every bureaucrat and civil service appointee in the administrative state, should replace them with, quote, our people. And then when the Supreme Court rules against him and says it is unconstitutional for him to do that, Donald Trump should dare Chief Justice Roberts to enforce the ruling. So a man who has said that the Constitution is meaningless and should be disobeyed is somehow going to be administered the oath of office to protect and defend and uphold the Constitution. Cool. And you guys wonder why I'm down. I mean, I just don't understand. Everything is... I I don't understand. Why isn't that disqualifying? Why I don't understand.
By the way,
how could it be disqualifying? The guy on the top of the ticket said we should just suspend the Constitution altogether.
And terminate the parts of it that are bad. Right.
Yeah.
I had to put a finer point on that Jack Murphy interview. Jack Murphy he's the one that's a Giga Chad, right? He's the one.
The Giga Chad who also is
what is that?
A cuck. He's
and enjoys being pegged.
Yeah, he's like a muscle influencer, masculine man culture influencer.
Big beard. Very dramatic
beard. And muscles and
men must take what they want.
And also, somebody else reported, I guess maybe an ex or something, it was reported that he likes to be cuckolded. Anyhow, it's an interesting world that JD is in. He also, JD followed, I don't know if you saw this, JD follows, I'm glad people don't look at my Twitter follows because who knows what crazy people I followed one day, but JD follows a site called the Mid Castiza of the Day. The Mid Castiza is a website dedicated to young, nubile-looking Indian American women. They wrote, "We're grateful that Senator Vance shares our interest in women of middle attractiveness and partial Amerindian descent." Well, some younger women that fit that bill. So anywho, that's a little aside.
Cool.
The important thing to me about that interview with the Giga Chad, the cuckolded Giga Chad, is that was his number one piece of advice. It wasn't like an aside. It wasn't like, hey, we're talking about a bunch of issues or like, what are some of your craziest ideas, JD? Or like, hey, I think we should do this. What do you think? And he says, yes, kind of like the interview with the Supreme Court justices. No, it was like, if Donald Trump called you and said, what is the first thing that you would tell him? What is one piece of advice you would give him? That was the piece of advice. A stare down with the Supreme Court over firing people that work for the government, civil servants. So, that's the plan.
No one cares?
Whatever you think about anything else that these people plan to do, the only thing we know for sure, thanks to the JD pick, is that they are going to fuck over Ukraine and they are going to totally eviscerate the federal government and replace people that are public servants with stooges that will do whatever MAGA wants, and they'll have a harsh immigration regime. That's it. Those are the three policies that now the JD gets on the ticket that we know for sure.
To defying the Supreme Court. Now the good news is they'll never have to because this Supreme Court ain't ever going to say no to them. So
Maybe
I guess we got that
they'll
going
say
for
no.
us.
They'll say no to them on some niche things. They'll say no to them on random things.
I don't know. Do you guys have thoughts on the Vance thing? Because whatever. I mean, I've hated JD Vance. I hated JD Vance when he was supposedly one of the good guys.
Yeah.
hated this guy since the minute he stuck his head up on front
forum. You had him pegged. What was it about Hillbilly Elegy? What was it about Hillbilly Elegy that turned you off? What was the first scent that you smelled?
The first scent that I smelled on this was that he wasn't able to actually blame the people who deserve the blame. Right? It was all a big effort to excuse make and domesticate and explain to set himself up as some sort of, oracular translator. And I'm just like, no. You 28-year-old with your memoir? Are you kidding me? You're 28. You haven't fucking done anything. And you're writing that is the most millennial thing ever.
I think I got to pass.
Smell that guy a mile away.
So I have a question. Or I have some thoughts on JD Vance that are more sort of like the political implications. I watched about half of it. It was good. It was great.
What? It was 6 minutes. You couldn't give me.
You know what?
6 minutes, Sarah?
Here's what happened. I was watching it. I don't know what. Something. I got a call came in. It was. I don't know something.
JD, Sarah also watches at 1.0 speed. So
I do.
So for me, it's only 3. It's only 3 minutes because I do it at 2.0. So
okay, great. So here's what I wonder about JD Vance. Is it an act of confidence and strength to pick JD Vance because you are not trying to expand into your base with these college-educated suburban voters? And so you're just saying I'm doubling down on MAGA and working class voters. Or is it a sign of weakness that the states that Trump really thinks he needs to shore up are these sort of more Rust Belt? It's the Pennsylvania, Wisconsin. It's not Rust Belt exactly, but it is the blue wall states that are Rust Belt adjacent, in which they think JD Vance will play well with those voters.
No, it's
so
neither.
Is it a okay?
It's neither. It's a belief that JD is ultimately 100% reliable in ways that Burgum and Rubio weren't. Burgum and Rubio were still basically normie Republicans, and JD had proven he'll do anything.
So let me ask a follow-up on that. So if it's just absolute compliance or being pliant, I get that. There's a lot of talk about, though, JD Vance being like the intellectual successor to Donald Trump, which I think is funny because intellectual what? Like
right.
Now
Don't you
that
need
being
some
said,
initial intellectual thing to success?
Yeah, that's right. The thing though,
To succeed.
it does, because it's not like Trump is trying to put a big stamp on his legacy of this, and that's why I need JD Vance, who's going to, carry out my worldview, because Trump's worldview is all inward about Trump. That being said, he does, they are aligned on things like, let's just give Putin what he wants. The idea of JD Vance, maybe more than anybody, has put a more articulate, more intellectual spin on America first, right? He is able to explain a coherent set of values that are America first, which perhaps Trump likes. Or maybe he just likes hanging out with Vance. I don't know. Or just likes the fact that Vance will do whatever he wants. But they do seem aligned in a way that when people ask the question, what does the future of the Republican Party look like? My stock answer lately has been, it's some combination of JD Vance, Candace Owens, and Tucker Carlson. And I now feel firmly committed that is what is Nikki Haley can give? What is Nikki Haley doing? There is no party for her there anymore. JD Vance cements, and watching the Wall Street Journal editorial page set freak out about Vance is a little delicious in that you can what is implicit in that is hey, we're supposed to get something, right? The baseball crank, he's just giving a middle finger to conservatives. And it's yeah, man, you've carried his water for these 8 years because you still think they're going to break you off a little piece. They're going to break you guys off a little piece over at AEI or, no, they're not. No, they're not.
No, it's over, man. The ship's sailed. I've been on this train for a while. Mixed metaphor. I have one glimmer of optimism in all this since JVL needs that. I think everything you said is right about JVL, about why he picked him. And I do think it's about loyalty and that this person showed he's totally compliant and his friendship with Don Jr. and et cetera. I think though that they've convinced themselves that he helps them in the upper Midwest. I mean, both Trump himself and Trump in his bleat and Don Jr. in his interview about this mentioned that. Maybe it's post hoc, I don't know. But I think that they probably have convinced themselves he does not. He underperformed Mike DeWine and Trump in Ohio. He does not add anything. The fact that he wrote a book about poor whites that rich whites read does not actually help him with poor whites in the industrial Midwest. It doesn't. He doesn't have
Ohio's
a brand.
Ted Cruz.
Yeah, he doesn't. Yeah,
he is an unlikable dude who ran 11 points behind the Republican governor.
Yeah.
He's not,
and he went to and 2 mentions of Yale, so he's not going to help them politically. And I do think that the path still
he's a governing pick.
Yeah, that path still for the Democratic ticket is through the blue wall states. I think they think that he might help them there. He will not, and he actually could conceivably hurt the ticket. I do believe.
Because he's a socially, it's called the cultural conservatism, his position on abortion. This is why I'm a little bit surprised, because this is a place where Donald Trump had some real armor against the Democrats' number one issue that they could go after him on, because people don't think of Trump as a big pro-life guy, right? They think this guy has no sexual morality. voters in the focus group say it all the time, like, I don't know, he probably paid for some abortions, and like Trump is able to use that. I was surprised, like last night, how many times somebody said gay people, like as an inclusion mechanism, right? There was a real way of trying to project the big tent. But in any event,
meanwhile, JD called Pete Buttigieg a childless cat lady.
Right.
So
I was doing Greg Sargent's pod, and I brought up the cat lady thing, and he went and found that quote. I'd forgotten how like deeply offensive that whole thing was. Yeah. He's really obsessed with this idea of cat ladies. Anywho, the point is, they have now opened the door to, I think, getting really hit on the abortion stuff with JD
And I think
Vance.
with Mike Johnson too. And so, we'll get to the Democrats, but if you can carry this message, right? It's like, I do think that there is some voters that are gettable on this issue of abortion that voted for Trump. We've talked about this a bunch in the podcast, that if you convince them that, okay, you might not trust Trump, but the judges that he put in, this insane VP that thinks that even in the case of rape, you should not, that's just tough titties, and you should have to have the baby even if you're raped by your uncle. And then the Speaker of the House, who wants to ban abortion at 0 weeks, at like the moment of conception, wants to literally be in there like intercepting it while you're jerking off. Like that is inconceivably a compelling political message that I think works better because of JD Vance and because of Mike Johnson. You got to make it, you got to do it, and who knows? But like, so I think that he is maybe meaningless as a political matter, maybe net negative. Obviously, very meaningful as a governing matter.
All right, can I, before we move on, because I sense we're heading towards Democrats, I want to just circle back. When you said about like the Wall Street Journal is freaking out over JD Vance, they're not freaking out so much that they would dare say no.
Oh, sure.
And we are seeing something else. So Mark Andreessen and Ben Horowitz, who are the founding partners of...
Fuck them.
Hold on. The venture capital firm Andreessen Horowitz. They recently came out, I think, in fact, just today, to say that they endorsed Donald Trump.
And are donating to a super PAC.
Who says he has voted for Democrats his entire life, is switching. The idea that you have people who have switched... I understand being for Trump from the jump. That's fine. I get it. The idea that you move to Trump after the insurrection and after the lies about the election, that is to me insane. I don't understand it. But here's what Ben Horowitz said. He said, we literally... I don't wonder if he fucking knows what that word means. We literally believe the future of our business, the future of technology, and the future of America is at stake. On April 16th, 2024, Andreessen Horowitz raised $7.2 billion for one of their new funds. Their market cap total is, I think, $42 billion right now. It seems like, literally, their business has done just fine under the Joe Biden regime. And so are they saying that their portfolio would go to zero because they literally believe the future? What the... I hate these people so much.
It's about Bitcoin.
And AI.
I hate these people so much.
It's about two things. So they wrote... The thing that galls me the most about this is fucking Mark Andreessen and gave an interview about this where he gave two reasons. One was AI, which I want to get to. The other was the wealth tax. He's like, that's just a no-go for me. And it's like, don't fucking lie. Don't bullshit me. Okay? Don't bullshit me and tell me this is about the wealth tax. You're one of the... You literally invented the internet. Okay? You literally invented Internet Explorer. You're a very smart man. I've spent time with Mark Andreessen.
Not Explorer.
Yeah. What did I say? Internet Explorer? Netscape.
Yeah. Or maybe it was Mosaic. I'm sorry. It might have been Mosaic. Sebastian, fact check.
He's smart, is my point. He invented and created one of these browsers. I've talked to him. He's extremely well read. You cannot tell me this person really believes that the Elizabeth Warren wealth tax is a real, clear and present danger to him anytime in the near future when the Republicans are about to take the Senate, the Republicans control the House, and there are many pro-corporate Democrats that are there. There's like 28 votes in the Senate for this fucking thing at most. All right, so just please, please don't. What they want. Here's what they want. They want unfettered regulation of AI, totally unfettered. They don't want anybody looking at what they're up to. Okay, so that's a position, I guess. Number two, they don't like the woke people in the Bay Area. They're very annoyed by the people that work at the Andreessen Horowitz who want them to, have land acknowledgements at the beginning of a Zoom meeting or whatever fucking crazy thing they had to deal with. And by the way, there are some annoying liberals out there, granted, but that is it. Because they want unfettered regulation for AI and because they're annoyed by woke people.
I hate my neighbors, so let's do
Trump.
authoritarianism.
Ugh. Oh God!
I hate all of this.
Them the most.
I hate all of this so much. So we got to go to the Biden thing. I think one of the downstream effects of the news this weekend was that the momentum on getting rid of Biden seems to have stalled a little bit again, but the polls keep getting worse. Again, he's going to lose Virginia. Forget Michigan. Forget Wisconsin. Joe Biden will lose Virginia. Great. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much you're right. There was, because of the assassination attempt, again, is in terms of as a political matter. I think we have been in a strong, weak frame for a long time in this election. That's how voters are perceiving this. Donald Trump looks both like a victim, but a victim that rose with strength, which America loves, and casual political observers. Like, if you want to say people, people aren't going to look at that and think, yes, they are. Lots and lots of people are. Number one. In response, right, Joe Biden has been trying to continue to prove that he's capable. And so he had a very good rally, I believe on Friday, where a lot of people, it's like he had a good rally and everybody's like, stop talking about it now. See, case closed. He's not going anywhere. Then he sat down with Lester Holt, and there was a question, and I thought it was quite a stupid question, since I think figures of speech in which somebody says, like, we need to be laser focused on Donald Trump. We need to make sure that he is the target of our, like, whatever, the figures of speech, the idea that, and so Lester Holt asks him, like, I don't know if he asked him if he regretted his words or just like, what did you think about your choice of words? And Biden, of course, like, can't quite answer, and then like sort of says he's in the wrong on it and kind of stumbles around. And that was one of the low points of the interview, but he's doing a thing.
That was one of his better answers, so I'll have to disagree with that.
Okay, fine. If you think that was one of his betters, I did not. I thought that was quite bad. There's also a way in which he's doing a thing now where when he trails off and he goes on and he loses his train of thought, which happens a lot, he just says, anyway.
I do the same thing.
Yeah, okay. And I watched
in my writing.
I watched that
Anyway.
interview, and I thought, like, the problem is that you to make this about Trump and a referendum on Trump, like, that's a whole thing to do. But every interview that Biden does is going to bring this kind of scrutiny. You just have to accept that. Like, there's no way around it. And the fact is, I don't know if we talked since the Tim Alberta piece, but like the extent to which the Trump people believe that Joe Biden, like, they do not want him to change course in any way. They think Joe Biden's a walk in the park. They think they're going to win 300 electoral votes. They think there's going to be landslide. And as we get into that territory, it's weird. The worse things get, the calmer I'm getting. Like, I've been pretty...
Same.
But I'm starting to be like, okay, well, like, I just want to be clear about what I think is happening. And like, people who are not me, this is like, I swear to God, I'm saying the serenity prayer to myself to change the things I can and to accept the things I cannot change and trying to know the difference, right? We are watching this thing slip away in real time. we are watching it get scarier because remember when Tim wanted it to be Rubio? I didn't because I thought that it was going to make Trump's chances better and it was going to shore him up. And I still believe that. I think that JD Vance offers him nothing. What it does do is what it does do is give us a much scarier picture of the future. You talk about Trump being like a velociraptor learning to work the doorknobs. Like JD Vance is like advanced door technology. Right. Like JD Vance knows how to do all this stuff. He will be a good implementer of, it's not that not only can you not trust him to be the brakes, he will be an accelerant to this. And so we are now in a place, I'm sorry, JVL, I'm sorry. I don't want to be dark with you, but like, we are in a place where the Supreme Court has said this guy would have total immunity, where they are dropping these court cases because he's got judges who are willing to basically who think he's going to be the next president. We haven't even talked
about the Eileen Cannon thing.
No, we haven't. Yeah. But just we've got.
God, keep going.
We've got his Trump mini-me. The zeal of a convert fascist, and we've got a Democratic. So like the picture gets bleaker all the time on terms of what is coming for us in the future. And the Democrats are completely paralyzed. And Joe Biden can't articulate the case against Trump or JD Vance. And everybody's just like, well, either. And one of the things that I saw something, somebody quoted, and they're like, if we stick with Biden and he loses, it's their fault, meaning the campaign. If we switch him out and we lose, it's our fault.
Who cares?
And I was just like, okay, if people are willing to take this gamble, I can't change that. I mean, I can say my analysis, but like, I don't now at this point. Cool, you feel like you're riding with Biden, and I'll listen. I will do as I always say. I'll do absolutely everything I can, to help. I do think that there is a world where he still has a 30% chance to win because the anti-Trump coalition is strong. I also want to say, just as a brief note of optimism, that 4 months is both a very short time and also a lifetime. If you think about where we were in 2020 in terms of the summer, right? We're in the middle of Black Lives Matter protests, George Floyd murder, and Donald Trump sending troops into the street. I mean, like, we were also in a crazy, chaotic place. COVID. So things can look different 4 months from now, but you sure can't bank on it, man.
I am not saying the Serenity Prayer. I am going to rail against the dying of the light.
Yeah, no.
Until the last fucking possible second. Yeah. People can be mad at me. I don't care. I don't
also
care.
Do not care.
I don't fucking care. So, you're disappointed in me. I don't care. This thing right now with Biden, like, the thing that drives me the most crazy about it is two things. Number one, the cake is baked. I sent a tweet just because I want to be positive. Like he gave a good speech on Friday. Great. Mm-hmm. It does not matter. Like 3/4 to 4/5 of the country has rendered a verdict that he is too old to do the job, and he sounds and looks too old to do the job. So like having a good moment, doing a funny video, having a nice little repartee, yelling at Lester Holt one time, dark Brandon sunglasses, like it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's over. Okay. Like it's over. People have rendered a verdict. It's all our job to pundit every little late thing. And is he doing a little better or doing a little worse? Like, it doesn't matter. When what happened on the debate stage happened, and when he looks and sounds like he looks, like nothing else matters except to political obsessives who want to like care about the little nooks and crannies of each thing. So like, it's over. I don't care if he has a good interview or a bad interview. Really. I don't think it's relevant. That said, the Lester Holt interview was horrible.
Yeah.
So like not only does it not matter if he has a good interview, don't tell me a bad interview is a good interview. Like there were multiple times where he froze and started looking out into the air.
Impossibly long pauses. Yeah. Uncomfortably long pauses.
The answer that I put on social media that people were shitting on me for was like, was where he says, the fundamental question gets asked, which is, what if you have another moment like that in the debate in September? And then Joe Biden proceeds to have another moment like that. He says, what happens if... like, that was what his answer was? What happens if... And then he says, no, I don't plan on having another moment. It's like, did you plan on having the first moment? It's like, we are going down an insanely risky path. insanely risky path with a stubborn man. And like, look, I will come on here in September and October, and I will make the best case I can. And frankly, I think it's probably good to have at that point, to just like I used to say that it was good to have conservatives go at the convention, which isn't going to happen, and say, I hate Joe Biden's policies, but I'm still with him. It will be good to have people in September and October that say, I think Joe Biden is too old. I have said so. I'm concerned about it. And yet, even still, you should vote for him, and that's what I'm going to do. I think it will be needed to have people that make that case, because he's going to need about half of his voters. Like if you look at the numbers, like about half of his vote share is going to be people who think that. So it'll be useful to have messengers to make that case. So that's where I'm at on it. The whole it's fucking madness. It's insanity to move forward with it. The idea that another path is riskier makes no sense to me. He is what he is, and this is, and if we're gonna roll with it, then we're gonna roll with it. But it's ugly out there.
Sarah and I talked about this a little bit on Friday, Tim, or Thursday, I guess. I don't think people understand that Trump is not only on a trajectory to win the election, he's on a trajectory to win a plurality of the popular vote, which people will say like doesn't matter and stuff. It matters. It matters. If he wins 300 electoral votes and wins a popular majority.
Yeah. He has a mandate for all the things he
There
does.
is a mandate for everything.
And let's talk about those Senate seats, by the way. Those Senate seats.
Oh, yeah.
You know, if
the House is gone.
Having 52 senators, having 52 Senate seats with Susan Collins and Lisa Murkowski, you can laugh and mock them as much as you want, but like stopping the worst appointments and just having to bring over one other Republican every time, having 52 Senate seats where the two of them just had to bring over one of them to prevent Kash Patel from being the fucking head of the CIA, like that is useful. That is good. If we go down a path where Donald Trump has 55 Senate seats, 56 Senate seats, like there aren't 6 Republicans.
There's
like,
no
there
breaks.
are barely 2.
Yeah.
And this isn't like, oh, things could break right for him. If the election were held today, he would win a popular majority. No, I'm sorry, a popular plurality. But the Biden responses for the last 2 weeks, and I don't mean like Biden himself, I mean the campaign, have made me
enraged.
Even more crisis of confidence. So first there was the Project 2025. Talk about the Project 2025 stuff. And I am sorry. The Project 2025 thing is a very real risk and very serious. We just talked about it. We talked a little bit about how terrible it is that JD Vance wants to do it. That is not an issue that you can win a campaign on. That is a process issue that people are never going to understand and are never going to vote on. And then yesterday, Biden tipping his, I'm going to propose major reform of the Supreme Court. Come the fuck on. You had a chance to do that when you had unified control of the government, and you didn't. This is your response to everything is, I want to fix the Supreme Court, so come with me with this unworkable plan that has 0% chance of success. What are they doing? Yeah. What is this campaign doing?
Yeah. What is he doing? I remember when I look back with some regret on my Dean Phillips interview. Because obviously there were some things he was saying that was true and I was maybe too harsh about. There was one thing that I was right about, though, when I was criticizing Dean Phillips, where I was like, it was like that part of the interview where it was almost like me coaching him, kind of. It was kind of uncomfortable, where I was like, if you're going to do this, okay, do it. But here's the way to do it, is you go out there and prove that you're better at taking down Trump than Biden. Like the way to win that primary
Dean Phillips
was
went the other way. Dean Phillips was like, I'm going to run for the MAGA voters.
Yeah. So like the attacking Biden, like that didn't work. But the same principle applies here. To if the Biden people called me, like I said, I don't know that it matters that much anymore. But if they called me, I'm like, that is the way out of this. Is to get in his head that every interview answer is pivot to Roe, pivot to mass, whatever polls the best, pivot to mass deportations, pivot to tariffs are going to do this, pivot to insurrection, right? Like pivot to just, Trump has plenty of vulnerabilities, right? Like pivot to them immediately, attack Trump, show you can do it. He can't do it. He's him and the campaign, by the way. The campaign is young, so you can't blame this on decline. The campaign and their surrogates and Biden are most animated about attacking David Axelrod and Pod Save America. That's what
Because it's closer. Because it's closer.
That's what they're most animated about. They have not showed any ability or willingness to effectively attack Donald Trump and make this campaign about Trump. And if the campaign isn't about Trump, the campaign's over. We might as well not even run out the next 3.5 months. So the good news is I agree with Sarah. There is 3.5 months left. I'm not serene. I'm getting calmer, but I'm not serene. And it's winnable. It's even winnable for Biden. It doesn't look good. It's winnable, but like that, there has to be a focus on Trump. That's why they did the debate early, by the way. That's why they told us that they were going to do the debate early, to turn the focus onto Trump. Still hasn't happened, and they got to do it. CNN's not going to do it for you. You got to do it.
Can I just say the reason I am serene, or not serene, but the reason that I'm increasing being calm is, number one, hair being on fire is not really going to help. Joe Biden doesn't listen to you. Yeah, right. Joe Biden's not going to listen to me. And so to the extent that people who listen to this podcast have opted into listening to me, I will give you my best analysis, which is what I owe you, which is that I believe Joe Biden is on track to lose this thing in the campaign. I think they're making just a huge mistake and an error right now. That being said, in addition to doing analysis, the analysis was a byproduct of me running campaigns to beat Trump. That's why I do the focus groups, whatever. I have a job to do, and I'm going to go do it. And that is going to be prosecuting the case against Trump. I am very glad. I think to the extent that I had a sort of a grand vision of being part of a group of people that was going to help surface, we've got a lot of real people, but obviously I was hopeful that as this campaign went on, what you would do is you would create, you'd get Kelly and lots of other Republicans, people from Trump's cabinet who would speak out. I think that's off the table now. I think that those folks will tell you, like, if they were already leery about doing this, but now that they say, look, I'm not going to I'm not going to swap one irresponsible person for another irresponsible decision, which is that putting somebody in power who's absolutely
and they're not going to stick their necks out for something that looks like it's a 2-to-1 loser.
2-to-1 loser. That's right. And so, that's right. No, you're 100% right.
That's sad. They should. I just feel like somebody should say they still should do it. Just like I'm still going to fucking do it.
They should, but it's a lot harder to make the case.
Let's be real
about what that case looks like.
It's harder to ask.
So before we go, I want to get to great show, long show. The real source of my despair is, now I had said like 2 years ago that I would be okay with Trump winning because it would mean that America was choosing him and choosing authoritarianism on its own merits, right? It wouldn't be that they were tricked into it, that they didn't know. It wouldn't be that like there was such a massive economic shock that, people were losing their homes and losing their jobs. And so they felt like they had to turn to something else. Like, we have had a very good run of 4 years. Things are well. The American economy is the envy of the world. The world may be on fire, but Joe Biden's stewardship of American foreign policy has been very strong. And yet we're going to choose it. David Frum, who wrote an excellent piece about all this, he described it as America choosing to self-harm. And choosing self-harm in a way when no other society, in a way which no other society has done, right? It has always been,
societies do it when they're falling apart. Yeah.
Right, exactly. You have hyperinflation in Weimar Germany, and so then they choose that, right? You have, it happens, right? Here, a democratically elected large plurality will have seen all of it. It's not like they have to imagine, what if, Donald Trump is the kind of guy who could close your eyes and imagine maybe he could attempt a coup. No, he did it. We watched. We saw it. Donald Trump is the kind of guy who couldn't manage a big, scary world event. Oh, we got that too. 1 million people died from COVID. 1 million Americans. And this is why I'm in such a state, because I am realizing that I now live in a country where people, not a tyranny of the minority, not some trick of the Electoral College, where a plurality of the people are looking at Donald Trump. They know exactly what he is. Their lives are going great, and they're saying, yeah, I want that.
Hold on a second.
I don't know how to do that.
Hold on a second.
I don't know how to live with that.
This is not where I thought you were going to go with this statement. I thought you were going to say you thought it was good because you would know that they were choosing authoritarianism. Like that they said, give it to me good and hard. This is what I want. That's not what's going to happen. What's going to happen is that nobody provided a viable alternative to it. Nobody could articulate the alternative case as it was happening. Nobody could explain to the American people. And as a result, we default into it. It's less of a choice. We default into it. And this is where I just can't fathom the moment. The stakes are this high. There's time to change course and to just refuse, to just default, to just cede the moment. I don't know. I can't change it.
Because you never know. Maybe the luck of the Irish of Joe Biden meeting against the fact that Donald Trump's luck's got to run out sometime. Eventually, he's got to stop throwing double sixes. Maybe that's it. Narrow electoral college victory, 270 electoral votes, civil unrest. That's on the table. That's a plus option. That's not out of the question.
Look, this is not analysis. This is not based on data. This is just a feeling in my bones that the character of this country has changed, and that the experience of Trumpism, rather than making us feel like we touched a hot stove and are jumping away from it and realize, like, crap, that's dangerous. You can burn yourself with that. It has given people a taste for it instead. And I just don't know what any of us do going forward if that's the case. Good show, long show. Guys, it was great to be with you. So happy.
We got it.
So happy to see you both again.
We're going to be here every week, every Wednesday.
We'll see you guys next week.
Bye.